Yeah, well,
Diggity dogs proposal. Those are Cold Spring Town Board. Yeah.
here, and I don't think.
Okay, there's one there and there's some on the table.
Thanks.
I think it's the new one.
All right, ready? Getting ready? All right, evening, everyone. Stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance
to the
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mayor Morandi,
Here.
Trustee Early,
Here.
Trustee Miller is absent, Trustee Murphy,
Here.
Trustee Veloto.
Here.
Okay. Evening, everyone. Beautiful day today. I'm sure you all want to get out of here quickly, so we'll try to do our best. First is police report.
Good evening, everybody. For the month of April, we had 54 general calls, we had no arrests, we had 20 traffic summons issued, and 56 parking summons issued. Going forward, I do notice that there's been a lot of information going out there about the traffic pattern being changed for the school, dropping the kids off. The letter had gone out by the superintendent about what possibly may be going forward on the pilot program. Just wanted to let people know that I am in almost all of the meetings with any discussions on any traffic flow. I was waiting to get all the information together so I can give it before the board, the mayor, and also the board to let them know what they were looking to do. Right now, it got out a little early, but it's still an information gathering. We're gonna have another meeting shortly. I know I have a message on the machine upstairs to call Superintendent Bowers about a general meeting we're gonna have, I guess, with the residents and everybody else to discuss the possible traffic flow changes in the future. We're trying to alleviate the issue on 9D when the high schoolers are being dropped off between 7:05 and 7:25 with the traffic flow of the people getting stuck on the circle. Basically, everybody's lining up to drop the kids off. The Craig side is being jammed up. The circle, drop the kids off, is being jammed up. There was 2 incidents in the last couple of months where a fire truck had to be called for a smoke condition. It turned out to be nothing, but they couldn't get the fire truck up on the circle because of all of the traffic in the morning. And also there was an ambulance call, I believe, either before that or after that. So our concern was, if something does happen going forward with either a fire truck, or emergency service, or any type of vehicle that needs to get in there in the morning between 7:05 and 7:20 or 7:25, that we were looking to change the traffic pattern of having them drop the kids off, to leave that open so we can get people in there if we needed to. So I know some of the suggestions were coming down on Craig's side, going down into the school around the Maribel building, dropping the children off there and coming back out and falling out onto Mountain Avenue, where they would either exit down Fishkill, exit down Orchard, or exit down one of the streets, the Locust. There was also, Beach Street. We also was concerned about the ambulance corps. The ambulance corps is not gonna be, we'll make sure if it does go that way, we'll make sure the ambulance corps is wide open and there'll be no holding them up on trying to get to an emergency. Again, this is all fact-finding at this point. I know we got a little quick on that. They were gonna do it right after the holiday break, but I'm sure we're gonna just go over it a little bit further before we do anything. And I will, as soon as I find anything, I will let the board and the mayor and the board know what they're looking at, and also to have maybe you guys come to one of the meetings, if you so choose. Other than that, again, there was no arrests this last month, which is great. Everything's going well, I think, with the village, and that's it. Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry, if you're going away, please fill out your dark house reports. If you go away, you fill out, the report will be here, Jeff has them here. You fill out when you're going away, So this way we know to go by your residence. We usually go by, we try to definitely go by once a tour. We try to go by a couple of tours if we're not busy, and check on your house, make sure everything's good, everything's locked up. Just fill out everything, all the information out on the dark house check.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on the highway, the pattern for the school. It seems like the last people that are learning about this are the village, the board of trustees and myself, which irritates me to no end. I received a letter from Mrs. Bowers a few days ago telling us what's going to happen. It's not inquiring or asking us what we think of this, or can we run this by, discuss this, nothing. It's like, this is what we're gonna do. It's gonna totally drive everyone crazy on every street from Mountain Avenue, Orchard Street, Locust Ridge, Fishkill Avenue. Every one of those streets is now gonna have all these people coming as an outlet out there and coming out and coming through all of their streets. I think you might want to talk to the village board about that. It's our village, and we're representing the people. And what I did was I got a note, and this hasn't been the first time Ms. Bauer has shown a little respect for my office, and sends me this note telling us what's going to happen. We're going to run this trial run. So maybe if you could express to her that I'm not happy. I think that we should be the ones that have the final say on that. If they want to, change patterns, that's fine, but if it's going to impact all of the residents on every one of these streets, we should know before it actually gets out. So this has something that just got leaked out. Ms. Bowers, or Superintendent Bowers, decided, she released this information. So, I know it's, I've been in the situation where I've been trying to sometimes try to get stuff gathered, information, get everything together, and then something happens before and whatever. It doesn't work out well, so unfortunately this is what's happened this time, and it hasn't gone through what I think should be the right process or the right channel. So thank you for keep us posted a little earlier. I don't have to know everything. I should know some of what's going on, and that there was going to be some traffic changes. I think that would be important.
Yes, sir.
For everyone to know. Along with the police department, we did get a memorandum here. Who sent this? I forget.
Larry.
Oh, Larry, on the grants that we have received. These are the ones we did receive, right, Larry?
The top three were the ones we did receive, and the number 4 is one we had put in for, and we should know soon about that one. Fran helped me with that, Fran Murphy, with the AED request for the $2,000 grant.
Right. So I just wanted to, Larry's been pretty busy and taken the job very seriously and has done a great job, I think. So from Sue Sereni, he has $2,500 for surveillance cameras. We now have surveillance cameras in the front. I don't know if they're not really concealed, but they're not conspicuous, so we might not have noticed them. But they have actually paid off already. When the vandals were raging on the streets, they were caught on our cameras. So added with other information, that was good. So that was $2,500 there. There's $8,000 from the Putnam County DA office for 2 new Tough Books laptops for the police vehicles, and $900 from the DCJS, which is
That's Department of Justice.
okay, vest program to reimburse the village for 3 new vest purchases, and Larry had referred to before as a $2,000 request for 3 new defibrillators. So thank you, Larry. Very helpful. Recreation report. Recreation met Tuesday 17th. Continued discussion of requests for skate park at Mayor's Park. Requesters will be at our May meeting to update us as to progress with what would be their requirements. Discussed details as to the Hop Beer Festival in June. Discussed the future additions that have to be considered for an eventual special event application for Mayor's Park, for-profit requesters. Discuss the details as to the request for the future Oktoberfest application, not-for-profit requester. Discussion will continue at our May meeting, not-for-profit application upgrades being planned. Replacement trees, excuse me, Replacement trees were planted recently at the waterfront as to replacing those uprooted last fall. Paver quotes are being sent now. Lawn repair and watering of the trees was approved by the insurance company. The insurance company was pleased with the overall lower cost of this damage and replacement, so the approval for repair of lawn and the watering was not an issue. Recreation asked to hire a seasonal part-time employee, mainly related to Mayor's Park functions, opening up gates, locking them after an event, cleaning and restocking the bathrooms, checking all areas of the park, especially pavilion areas for damages or needs. Miscellaneous other duties may be required. Request from O'Sullivan family for first community party, Mayor's Park, May 12th. 50 people, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. was approved. Discussion of overall recreation duties, man-hour distribution, lawn care, all parks areas to include weed whacking, leaf blowing, etc. Discuss all details with Mr. Downey. So to identify all necessary tasks related to total care of our parks, then hire accordingly as per my note above as part-time seasonal employee or even certain duties year-round. To be continued, adjourned, 7:30 p.m. to attend Mr. Editor's 100th birthday event. I got torn paper here, so shuffling. There's nothing from planning board, nothing from zoning appeals, town of Phillipstown.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Okay, first, a couple things I'd like to congratulate the Nest. They had 20 years of business. They had a big sign up there the last couple of weeks. They had, I think, a type of gathering up there like last Saturday or so. But congratulations to them, 20 years of business. It's a good number of years to be in business. And daycare, as everyone knows, is a very important aspect of everyone's life these days. So thank you for doing that, and congratulations to them again. I drove by the fishing derby on Sunday. Sunday was this year, looked pretty successful, like quite a few kids there. I don't know who won the biggest catch or anything yet, but I'm sure it'll be in the paper this week or tomorrow's paper. So, also, I'd like to report, I've been reporting over the last several years about the Hudson Highland Reserve, the planning board. Had a big vote last week, 2 weeks ago, and they voted 5-2 on a positive declaration for the Hudson Highland Reserve. That's to have the reserve up on 200+ acre subdivision and doing up on Route 9 Horton Road. Anyway, so obviously the planning board determined it's a positive declaration and it's supposed to be a positive impact to the environment. So right now, I guess the next steps for them to be, they're having a scoping meeting with them on May 17th, the next meeting. So I don't know if I don't know exactly what the scoping meeting is going to do, or if the applicant's even going to move forward. I think the applicant's going to want to move forward after spending all the time that they have so far, but we'll see. I'm sure I'll be reporting on this for the next few months as well. So, as I indicated last month, up on Vineyard Road, the proposed cell tower for Homeland Towers. Right now, they're suing the town of Phillipstown. We met with them twice over the month. We had two public hearings in late April and mid-April. Anyway, we had quite a few people at the first meeting, probably about 30 or so citizens that live up in that area who voiced their concerns. We kept the public hearing open until last Wednesday. At the last public hearing, there was only 1 or 2 people that spoke. Anyway, the public hearing has been closed, and we're going to be going through the process of opinions soon, so it's going to probably take quite a while to get through this process. We also talked about an alternative site on that location. So we have to get a little more information exactly to where that is and how it is, how it will affect the environment as well. So if they decide to move it, it's like 800 feet closer to Route 9, but the height of it could be reduced to 140 feet. But I don't know if the height of the land really didn't go down that much, so I think the people who are still affected by it will still be able to see the tower. So it's more information regarding that to come. We also had a workshop in April, and we introduced Danielle Pack McCarthy as the prevention drug coordinator. There was quite a few people who attended that, and we did get a lot of support for creating that position. So we'll see how that all turns out, but she's been pretty active over the last few months in getting this up and running. So I think more will come on that as well. Tomorrow we're having a workshop with Sun Power. We're discussing looking at putting solar panels on the rec center down in Garrison. It's a pretty big roof. We already did the preliminary studies, so I have all the reports back. So tomorrow we're having a workshop to try to finalize things and decide if we're gonna move forward with that as well. As you know, we're a climate smart community, so this is a good step in the right direction of putting solar power panels on where we possibly can. Also, we're moving forward with the water study. I see Michelle Smith's here as well, so we're moving forward with that with the Shays and Company and one with Hudson Highland Reserves. We also passed a resolution accepting the stormwater annual report. I've also been talking about the final plans for the town hall. I do have a set here, Dave, but they're not finalized yet. So I'm not gonna, I was told not to give them to you until they're 100%.
Fun
So, anyway, so there are some changes. I got some more input from the people who actually work in the courtroom, and so there's gonna be some modifications to that as well. So, once we have the final plan, I'll be more than happy to give you the plan. Thank you.
Just a tease.
I did.
Hey Bob, did you guys get any money for those solar panels from the state or anything? Or?
No, we didn't look, no, but for, this company is gonna give us, it's gonna be negative impact to us at all. We're not gonna be able to pay, we don't, no out-of-pocket money is what they're telling us
Okay.
as of right now. We're still gonna, from what the report that I see, we're still gonna have to pay a monthly utility bill as well, but it's gonna be the exact same amount we've always been paying. And it's like, I don't know all the things, that's why we're having this workshop, to go over a couple things. But, it's a big roof. It's, I don't know, it's quite a few panels to put on, over 200 panels they're gonna be able to put up on that roof.
You can get the ones off of Haldane.
Well, you know, I looked at that company at Haldane, that's one of the main reasons I started the process over a year ago with them. And it started out well, and then all of a sudden it just fell off the face of the earth, and then I heard some negative things about the fire they had up there, and from what I understand, it's still not in production, part of the school, so. We went with these guys have been very well so far, they show up to meetings, give them reports, and communicate well, so. This is the third company I've been dealing with, so hopefully this is gonna work out.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have, let's see, Historic District Review, submitted by Kathleen Nicoli. With Chapter 64 revisions approved by the trustees last week, the HDRB now turns its attention to finishing the update of the design standards for public comment. With summer travel seasons arriving, our progress may slow a bit, but we will keep plugging along. Before us this month are the continuing applications for modifications of 4 Stone Street and 20 The Boulevard, as well as modifications to a previously approved application at 19 High Street. Several fence applications have been received recently, but will be heard first by the ZBA as height variances are also requested. I see we have someone from the fire company. Do we have anything or not?
I'm just here for the correspondence.
Okay.
No, there's no report from the fire company.
Okay. We did, I believe we made it public that we did have a bid that was we accepted, was around 85,000 for the roof. So we did check out references, and now we just have to get all the paperwork in order. Probably won't happen till June. Not gonna happen at the end of this 2 weeks of this month. So we're shooting for June, hopefully, if they can fit us in. But that's moving forward. Code update.
NYSERDA has provided guidance for the process to be followed for topics that are evaluate. The Code Update Committee has completed a draft document for evaluate flooding standards. The Code Update Committee has completed the process for evaluate adopting a ridgeline protection overlay district. A draft document will be produced. A draft document has been produced for evaluate steep slope standards. The document will be reviewed and discussed in May. These are 3 of the 5 topics in Phase 3. The other 2 topics in Phase 3 are green building standards and outdoor lighting standards. NYSERDA has been requested to provide guidance on the latter topic in terms of the types of lighting that fall into this category. NYSERDA has provided an update agreement number 39523, which is the contract between NYSERDA and the Village of Cold Spring, which covers the work being performed by the Code Update Committee. The changes include new dates, extending the end date to December 2019. The contract is being reviewed. Comments will be returned to NYSERDA. NYSERDA has approved payment of expenses incurred for task 3.2, which is meeting minutes and attendance list from public input session number 2. An invoice will be sent to NYSERDA requesting reimbursement. NYSERDA has recommended approval of task 2.2B, draft code amendments in appearance category. Once all expenses have been received, an invoice will be sent to NYSERDA requesting reimbursement. A conference call was conducted with NYSERDA to review status.
Thank you. Sounds like the Oscars or something.
Sorry?
Sounds like when you're talking about the appearance category. Winner in the
Oh,
appearance. Okay, where are we at here? Water, wastewater?
All right, we start with the Water Department report. The Upper Reservoir Dam Rehabilitation Project, our engineer, Bart Clark, is preparing a summary of design items, specifically the outlet valve location and the dam toe maintenance access for further discussion with Tectonic. And I think, Dave, your office, we're gonna be putting together, beginning to get together with some of the property owners to talk about access. So that's where we're at with that at this moment. The hydrant flush was completed Thursday morning, thanks to Scott Monroe and Jeffrey Phillips Jr. for working the vampire shift to accommodate residents and businesses alike. The Butterfield project was able to flush their last segment of water main as well during the week. There's a list of about 10 hydrants that need maintenance or repair, and so we'll be working on them in the coming weeks. There was a repair, actually there were 2 last week. We worked in coordination with the Highway Department to repair a water main issue on Fair Street last Wednesday. And given that 3 of the 6 workers in the hole were new to both departments, things went really well, and so it's promising with the hires that we have. And then lastly, the pesticide use on Fishkill Road. You know, this time last year was quite hot and heavy with things going on up there. This morning I spoke with Jerry Odell, who's in charge of this side of the county as far as the crews that are over here. He assured me that it's been determined there will be no application of herbicides on Fishkill Road. The directive is for mowing only. So I had received a call about that, and we looked into it. They had already discussed it last week, and it was, they're keeping in line with what we spoke about last year. So that's that. Wastewater, Market Street pump station replacement. The long-awaited project finally started on April 12th. While it had proven slightly obstructive to commuters, it has progressed quite well in getting the old station demolished and the new infrastructure in the ground and backfilled. We did have one complaint filed with the DEC last week in regard to groundwater pumped from the sump pit and ultimately reaching the shore of the Hudson River down near the Foundry Dock Park, sorry. We had spoken with the environmental conservation investigators and are establishing the compliance of the discharge. Conversations with DEC in the planning stages of the project determined that a discharge permit was not necessary, but we'll continue to make sure they're happy. It was just taking the groundwater that, that accumulates. I mean, you're on the shores of the Hudson, there's groundwater at about, 30, 40 inches, and since they were working 10 feet down, there's gonna be some groundwater. And so it was just a sump pump going into a silt bag to let the solids come out in the bag, and then the clear water was going down by the kayak launch, and somebody made a video and posted it, and that's where it's at. So we're legal, as far as we know we are. So.
I know we talked about the paving. When I was down there, is it just are they just paving that one section right over that they have? I guess they've torn up the blacktop. That's the only area they're doing. Or are they expanding that at all? I know you have requested.
There are limits for what their project was, and they've gone. There's a little bit outside that, so that's why it's given as a unit charge. So if it goes to the next volume of
Right.
there's a unit charge for that. So yeah, it's really just for what they've disturbed, and not to go north where all the other parts of the problem are.
Right.
So I don't know if you'd had a chance to get anybody else down
I
there.
was asking when I went down this weekend, I was just looking at it, and it seems like a really small area relatively small area.
Relatively tight that they'll be in, and the concern is, and we've spoke about this before, if we go with another contractor, unless it's a significant savings, I wouldn't recommend it, because then you're gonna have a cold joint between where they stop and the next one starts, and then that's just the beginning of your next problem. So if there's a way to make it work for the whole thing to be monolithic, it's just a stronger base.
And there's no way we can make a change order where they'll refund us money, and so we can just put it towards someone doing the whole thing?
EFC is in charge of all the money on this project, and they would be the ones that wouldn't increase the scope of paving. It wouldn't be relative to the pump station as much as it's.
But would they decrease the scope by them not having to do that and take that out of the project.
Oh, you mean to take that,
Just
to take the paving phase out so that the whole thing would be given to whoever contracted? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, didn't even think about that. We can ask
all right,
in the morning.
all right.
Doesn't that mean we lose money?
What's that?
Doesn't that mean we lose grant money?
Oh, right, I mean, I guess if it's not being, right.
I
Well,
guess
it was
we'd find
finance
out.
money, wasn't grant,
If
right.
we,
It's
if we
just
found that it
finance.
was cheaper to.
But it's
It would be
all-
finance money. I mean, you, in that case, you would probably wind up using CHIPS money or whatever for paving. I mean, if that's the case, you'd have to use, it'd have to come from somewhere,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's either coming out of what we financed, and that would be in the project for that scope,
Right.
and then add on what you need out of CHIPS, or you would be talking almost about doing the whole thing
right.
out of CHIPS. So I don't know if
Well, maybe I'll get together with you, we'll just, you can show me how far up we wanna go. I know it's
Everyone will be in
100.
town tomorrow morning, so if we can make something work, even noontime, we could probably do that. And go
I'll
down.
be back in the village around 9-ish or so.
Give it a shot.
Okay, I'll stop by.
And then the only other thing is we did approve the work for King's Capital, who was the ones at Market Street, to go into the pump chamber. There's a dry pump chamber that's 16 feet down, and then there's the wet well where all the flow comes in. And the floor to that chamber had been, over time, went in 72 and seen all the floods and everything else. So the floor was, it's all steel, and the floor was in really bad flake condition. And we had gotten the price, I think it was about $8,200 to redo that. So they've started that process. They've taken all the old flake out. They've gotten down to good metal, and so now it gets sealed with an epoxy and a cement lining for a new base, so that it's good for the next 40 years. So that's happening this week.
Great,
That's it. Good.
thanks a lot.
Good night.
Building department, let's see, new building permit, applications 8, building permits issued 5, COs issued 6, title searches completed 6, HDRB referrals 3, ZBA 3, and planning 1. Applications and permit fees collected $3,090. Title search fees collected $450. Totals collected $3,540. Robert Downey, you're up.
Evening, folks. Highway Department, April report. All Main Street branches were brought out, sanded, repaired, painted, brought out on the Main Street. Bulk of the street sweeping is done. Most of the potholes have been filled, with exception of a few streets. Subway was pressure washed, floor to ceiling, in anticipation of the kids coming to paint it. East Belvedere was graded, rolled, and poor condition was completely repaired. All of damaged grass areas were raked out, seeded from the snow plowing. Removed a large tree on Main Street, hauled it away. We've done one brush collection this month. We'll be doing another one next week on Wednesday, the 16th. We started maintaining public restrooms every Monday, Wednesdays, and Sundays. We cleaned out Mayor's Park shed and inventoried all items that you guys are looking to get rid of. We've repaired the end portion of the wall at Dockside. I don't know how it got damaged, but rebuilt the whole block right back up. Flags are all being inspected, organized, ordered them for the upcoming Memorial Day celebration. We removed a tree stump and hung Tree City signs prior to Arbor Day celebration for the tree committee. Replaced and repaired a 15-foot section of drain pipe on Kemble Avenue that we were unable to do during the winter when the water main break was there. We pulled 100 foot of sidewalk on Stone Street. I inspected their forms. The forms look great. I have one other thing to go look at down there before I report on that. Worked on a commemorative bench and a commemorative plaque for some local residents. As far as repairs, we were pretty small this month with sweeper skirt to the Bobcat and replaced the sweeper blade for it. Both salters were removed out of the trucks, summerized, and stored away for the summer. We repaired and replaced a boot on the exhaust of the 93 International garbage truck. We did service tune-ups on the John Deere tractor, the Skag Cheetah zero-turn mower, our 2 push mowers, 3 weed whackers. The Ford tractor is looking to be done next, all in just, if you guys are looking to get rid of it. The electric car, I'm not even gonna touch that because I don't even know where to start on that. And other than that, we have started training on the backhoe and the Bobcat for all employees. We have Kenny for another week and a half, and he's been great with the training. And it seems to be going well. In the coming month, we're looking to finish repairing the potholes, sweeping the streets. We're looking to start painting the lines in the village, repairing and replacing all catch basins throughout the village, presenting the flags in time for Memorial Day, and start cutting the village grass and that of the rec departments. We're looking to also repair and replace sidewalks in need of care and general street cleaning in time for the parade. We are also looking forward to starting the pavers up and down Main Street and repairing the planter box at the foot of Main Street. And we are also looking to continue training on all machines for all new employees.
Thank you.
Nice, Bugsy.
Thank
So with
you.
regard for everyone that doesn't know or doesn't know, the storage shed down at Mayor's Park has a number of tractors in them. We have a Ford tractor also at the highway garage. So I've asked not only Bugsy, but the two foremans before him what we should keep or whatnot. So there are a number of things that are just, being stored, and we should, advertise for. I believe we have to, and so he's that's the inventory he's talking about. So let's see what we have. There's a couple of tractor riding mowers that aren't very good. One is, so we'll see. But anyway, that's the inventory. Also, Bugsy's, I've asked him to log time for all of the areas that we're cutting, just so we can see what, for rec, how long that takes, and for the village, how long that takes, and to see if we can or cannot do it. I don't want to put all the pressure on those guys doing also the parks, but if we can do it with the new mowers.
Myself and Zach, just the two of us there today because the other guys were on garbage. We did the Mayor's Park Pavilion. Weed whacked the whole fence line in front of Mayor's Park and down towards the river on the pavilion side. We did all of the Tots Park and we did all of Dockside. And it took us about 9 hours between the two of us. That only leaves me to cut the football or the baseball field when the school does not do it, I believe during July and August. Also the riverfront and the winter parking along Kemble and the Boulevard. I'm looking at it probably taking a day and a quarter to do rec departments, and it's probably a day and a quarter to do my grass. So I'm looking at 2.5 days with 3 guys to do all the grass cutting. That's a rough estimate as of right now, but it should be pretty close.
Bugs, is that 9 hours each, so a total of 18 man hours, or?
Yeah, it'll be,
Like what you guys did today, that's 9 hours. You guys worked.
yeah,
Both of you worked 9 hours.
yeah, 9 hours. So that was 18 hours right
18
there.
hours,
Okay. And we, along, is it New Street, going up by the boat club?
Yes, we're also gonna have to, I consider that in with the riverfront,
Right, okay.
around the boat
Yeah,
club.
there's
And
quite a bit of weed whacking there.
normally we take care of around the new controls for the pump station down there also. That's something we've always taken care of. I'm not sure if it's ours or rec department. I think it's
We're
got,
down there, we do it.
we do it, yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Be interested to see it all. Justice Court, fines, forfeit, and bails and civil penalties, $1,810. Parking tickets, $2,547. Civil fees, $235. Mandatory state surcharges, $1,045, for a total of $5,637. Anything from the board? Steve?
Nothing this time.
Fran?
Just working on trying to get some money to help us renovate this building, so working on trying to get some grant money for that. And that's about it.
So we are gonna, I think we have monies from, that we have put aside, so we're definitely going to do some carpeting that we're working on, some repairs and some painting, so, hopefully, do the halls and a couple of the rooms, the offices this year. We're trying to get that done the next couple of weeks.
Is this considered the courtroom too?
What's that?
Uses the courtroom too, right?
This is the courtroom.
Yeah, we're not doing the court.
I know, I'm just saying, my wife got a grant
Right.
for our courtroom, to put new carpet in,
Where did she get it from, do you know?
State.
I know, yeah, I know that Kathy and Tom got a grant, I think this, for this carpeting a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets a grant every, well, Will's getting a grant every year for different things, so she got a grant this year for new carpeting after construction was done and new chairs.
And that was for the courtroom, right?
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
is a courtroom.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think Kathy has before, and we talked to her, and it was, I don't know when when it comes up again. But,
Yeah, I know, this was last year and it's
Right.
for this year, so.
yeah, so we'll be jumping on that. I think the last time we talked about it, I went and asked her, so it's definitely on. We are working on the committee's meeting for the Independence Day committee, so we are working on putting things together. We sent out invitations to everyone, all the organizations, not-for-profits, fire companies, everyone we could think of, elected officials. So they all went out last week, and the parade will be starting at 4 o'clock on Saturday, June 30th. Rain date will be the following day. We're working on a number of different things, so hopefully it'll be a more exciting, more fun-filled day. We have things moving along. The inflatables we'll have this year for the kids. Working on food trucks, bands as usual, and a few other things. So we've been working on that. We have to wait and see when things come in, how many people will respond. Hopefully they'll respond quickly so we can organize things. We did put a note in the papers for any vets that don't belong to VFW or to American Legions. If they want to march or if they need a ride and would like to participate, they're more than welcome to give the village hall a call. Who else did we? I think any organization would like to be involved. Hopefully with a float or something, it would be good. So I think that went out, and we'll keep you posted on that. Hopefully we'll have a press release, I guess that's what we're calling it, within the next week, and get that out to to let everyone know what's happening with that. The only other thing I went to the trustees for the Haldane School Board. They had a little forum last night, so I encourage everyone to go and vote. It's next Tuesday at Haldane, so there's five people that are vying for 2 positions, and I think it's a very important position. Was involved with Haldane for quite a while, so it was kind of, most of the people who were there were either friends or family, so a little disappointing because these people are really putting themselves out for, putting a lot of time into the school board, and into Haldane. So I hope everyone gets out and votes and does their homework on the candidates and, gets people in there that definitely want to work for the school. So that's, I think, all I have tonight. There was one other thing. I think I was left a note by, we need to clarify one thing about last week. Mike Turton wrote in the current about salary increases, which wasn't accurate. So just to clarify that, what we were talking about last week was people that had CDLs and starting pays. Right now, the base pay is $15. There are applicants that one person has a CDL, others can work towards them, and so in the past policies, we had raised the base rate by $2 for someone that had a CDL, but when we recently redid the policy, we did not have that in there. We will be putting that back in, so we had raised it to $18 an hour. The discussion was to bring it to $18 an hour, which we agreed on. I think the paper said that we were giving everyone $18 an hour, so some of our employees were very happy about that, and unfortunately it wasn't true. So to clarify, the $18 is for a CDL, base pay is $15. Okay. Next is Authorize mayor to sign contract with the EFPR group. Rand, do you wanna? Are you-
I don't have much on this. This is our current, company that does the auditing for us. I believe we're at the end of a 3-year contract, and, both Jeff and Michelle have recommended that we keep them on for another, couple of years. The previous company that we had for, I believe, 10 years or so. So, they have given us a quote on staying on, for doing the audit for the year ending May 31st of this year through 2022, and various pricing on it. So their raises are incremental, so for this year, I believe it would be $11,250, and for next year, $11,500, the following year, $11,750, and so on. So I believe Michelle and, Jeff have both recommended that we keep them on for at least another 3 years, and that's what this is.
Okay, so I'll make a motion
So I'll make a motion to ask,
to authorize.
to authorize, Dave, Mayor Morandi to sign a contract with the FPR group to stay on as our auditors for an additional, I believe it's 3 years.
We have a second.
Second?
Do we have discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is authorize mayor to sign IT service and maintenance contract for the Cold Spring Police Department. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to, authorize the mayor to sign the, service and maintenance contract for the Cold Spring Police Department at a total monthly cost of $260 a month.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Should I sign this? Are you gonna stop in tomorrow?
Yes,
Should I sign this, or is this?
I think you do.
Give that to you. All stapled together. Staple stay with you.
You need to sign this one as well. Thank you.
Okay, correspondence, we have a request to close Church Street for the Junior Fire Academy graduation. I'll make a motion to, grant permission.
Only if we can come. I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Yes, the period of time is 5 hours, during which residents who are already parked on the street will be unable to leave the street. Would it be possible, because Church Street is southbound one way, would it be possible to restrict the fire company?
We were only looking at the only area that we really want closed, and I believe the letter states it, is the area right alongside the firehouse.
Okay, so if we put up no parking signs,
Right.
so one lane could remain open to traffic?
No.
Okay,
The only area we were looking to close was from the back of the firehouse
Yes.
down to Church Street.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Down to
don't-
Main Street.
Or down to Main Street, yes.
So right there, the street is 3 lanes wide. Would it be possible to leave one lane unobstructed so that traffic can
I'm
proceed?
not sure about that, because I'm not sure about where we're putting our apparatus, because that was one of the reasons we needed the road closed, because of we are not gonna be able to park our apparatus on our pad on that day,
Uh-huh,
because we have 55 students in the fire academy, and graduations usually, when we have graduation, we usually have over 100 people, and we're gonna be holding graduation in the truck room, so if we have to push people out, we wanna push them onto the pad and not onto Church Street that way.
uh-huh.
So, and we were looking to possibly be putting 1 or 2 of the trucks out there, as well as, we're looking at getting a catered barbecue and putting the caterer.
And the village board is invited to attend, right?
I believe the village board is always invited to attend.
I'm joking. I think we need to find some way such that the residents who are already parked on the street can exit the street.
They can just go out the wrong way.
Well, that's problematic.
whoever's officer will be assigned there, which I'm sure I will be there with the festivities also. I will make sure we can get any vehicle that needs to come up or down, on the street. They just have to notify me, I will walk them up. If I have to go the wrong way, I will walk them up to make sure nobody will, get hurt or anything to get to their house.
It's not to get to their house, it's to leave their house and go
Exiting
someplace
should be a
else.
problem, because we're
Okay.
only talking about the back of the firehouse building. I believe there's only 2 houses on the right-hand side that would affect it, correct?
The only
one house is wrong.
No.
people that I really thought there was gonna be a problem with
Right, for sure.
were the 3 parking spaces behind your building, Marie.
Yep.
Those 3 and that driveway, and that was the only thing I thought.
No, but if there's people
People
in the
can't
park,
get out.
like in the rest of the,
Yeah.
like Angelo Perk or any of the other people that are on the street, just.
Well, I was gonna say, how did they do it last year for
Yeah,
the?
right.
I don't know.
Last year-
That's
Last year we
what-
closed the whole street, we gave people enough notice and they just did not put their cars there.
Yep.
If they know enough in advance, I mean, I realize this is a Friday and last year was a Saturday, that might make a difference.
That was for the
The
block party.
And they
But
closed
for
the
the block
entire
party,
street.
those people were well aware that there was going to be a block party and they made alternate arrangements. This is not involving them, and what I'm concerned about is, let's say Angelo needs to get out of his street. So he comes out of his driveway and makes a left and runs into somebody heading, south on Church. My understanding is that the entire street will be blocked from the north side of the firehouse to the south side of the firehouse, across the entire street, the roadbed.
Yep.
And so the people getting into the street is not a problem,
But getting
it's
out,
people
I got
getting out of the street. And because that's a street that has very limited parking to begin with, the cars typically are parked bumper to bumper to bumper
Yep.
on
We
both
can-
sides.
We can put up a police barricade and down, we could close the block off down at the bottom, and the residents can come in and exit as they please. We'll have somebody down there, you go in on the block, we'll make sure they get in this way, you can stop any type of flow, and you can just do 1 car at a time.
Okay,
That'll be fine, we'll take care of it.
okay.
I'm good with that. So do we have a motion?
We had a motion and we had a second, I believe, right?
Yes,
Who made the motion?
David and Fran seconded.
Great, thank you.
Any other further?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think the
Hopefully it
caveat is
doesn't
great.
rain and, have a great day and
Next, we have a request to operate a food cart on Main Street. I believe Mr. Cohn is sitting on the right. If you'd like to give us kind of a rundown, maybe a little overview of this while we.
Certainly, just a little background. I'm a 30-year Navy submarine vet. I left Newburgh, I grew up in Newburgh, was born in Newburgh. My parents owned a couple delis over there when I was a kid, so I was kind of slave labor when so I was born into the restaurant business. Submarine Combat Systems has no food in it, but I kind of had a hand in food for most of my career. Just moved back home after 30 years from Newport, Rhode Island, which is the Submarine Combat Development Laboratory for all submarines in the nation. And I was a test and evaluation engineer. But I'm finally home after all this time. And a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago, I picked up a hot dog cart saying that I was gonna use it in retirement. And I went through all the wickets to get it operating, and of course my college and high school kids took it over, and they ran that cart for about 5 years, and they had a blast. And they made some pocket money, they paid some of their tuition, and I kinda sat in the background because I was a little not retired yet. So I just got home about 18 months ago, and the last 8 months I've been residing part-time here, almost full-time here in Cold Spring, and I've had a couple cushy retirement jobs that I cannot do anymore. I got a bad back, and I'm standing in long periods is hard. So I thought I'd resurrect the hot dog cart because it's more of a part-time job. It's fun. I run it professionally, and I noticed Cold Spring looks like there might be an opportunity. And like I said, I run it professionally. I've got a good background in it. It looks like there's some spots, and it's a self-contained, small, brand-new cart. It meets all the health requirements. It's actually The health department called it the Cadillac of carts. It's not that big. I wanna say it's 82 inches by 52 inches. The toe tongue, where you tow it in place, normally is an obstruction if you put it somewhere in the city. But the toe tongue is actually removable, so it doesn't stick out and it doesn't obstruct anything. Everything is self-contained. It's a 0 footprint. Nothing is left behind. It generates hot water and hand soapy water, and everything is contained. So when you set it up, by the end of the night, you take it home, and you'd never know it was there. It's a 0 footprint. And it would only be hot dogs, and there's no fancy schmancy stuff, maybe lemonade or lemon ices, hot dogs, sodas, waters, chips, and lemonade. That's it. Just something that, that's keep me busy and let me work, and I got one kid in college, so I'm trying to get her through that. And I'm kind of limited physically, and this would help, this would allow me to kind of be my last job of life, hopefully. And like I said, I set it up professionally. It would be a family kind of setup. I think. I sent some pictures in, and I'm kind of a fun, upbeat guy, so I think it would be be a little bit of enhancement. And down at the lower end of Main Street, like I said, I have never been over this side of the river until now, and I love it over here. I should have come over here a long time ago, but that lower end of Main Street, you got a lot of people that park illegally down there. Not that it's a big issue, it doesn't really block anybody, but there's also a bunch of yellow blocked off areas that are kind of no parking zones, kind of. That would be a perfect spot for the cart to be put on, one of those yellow spots. And there's a few other spots down across the stairs near the waterfront side. And I'd like to leave it up to you guys to what you would think, what would be the best. I suggested that lower Main Street because it's a nice high traffic area. And that would be my primary recommendation or request from me. But anything downtown where I can get where the people of traffic are, and that's it. That's the scoop. I have a start date. I have the cart. It's been through. I've got the tax ID. The cart has been already one time gone through the Board of Health with, like I said, the Cadillac of carts. They loved it. So I had a start date of around July, before July 4th. It was my potential start date. I'd also be willing to donate, something to the city, to the Rotary, or to like you guys. Normally when I was in Newport, there was a little fee to have the hot dog cart in the city. I'm not sure if you guys are going through that process yet or have that established, but I'd be willing to donate something to whatever organization, a little bit here and there, or if you guys want to establish a fee.
There is a fee already, there should be.
Bob, you actually,
I did it, I had a hot dog cart for many years.
Oh, okay.
But same thing, I stopped it a while ago, I had my kids do it and everything else. So, I did it, I still got my hot dog cart. Yeah, I think it was $100 a month or something like that.
It is.
Or $25 a day, $100 a month,
$100
something
a
like
month.
that. And you're not allowed any vendors on West Street.
Correct. Correct. As it turns out, the village code never mentions food carts, never. It mentions hawking and peddling, of which I don't believe a food cart qualifies as hawking or peddling.
It does in Newburgh, because I've gone through this town hall over there and spent about 3 hours asking questions, and it comes under the generic heading. It doesn't specifically mention it in Newburgh either, but they said, the secretaries over there, the 3 people I talked to said that hawking and peddling, the cart fell under that.
I would leave it up to our attorney to determine whether or not hawking and peddling includes a food cart, or selling food. Hawking and peddling by definition are articles, typically sold for less than you would probably get to do a quick turnaround on the sale. So I would, before we do anything on this, I think we should consult John.
Oh, yeah, we definitely should.
Mr. Cohen, are you living here in Cold Spring or are you living in Newburgh?
Right now, I'm living in Cold Spring. I'm doing 24-hour care for a friend of mine here in Cold Spring. I've been living in-house since last August.
Yeah.
So that's why I discovered the city. It's just beautiful. I love it here.
And you're asking for 10-hour days? from
Well, I'm
Thursday through
asking, I
Sunday?
would like Thursday through Sunday. I'd like to be set up by 11 is the target. And I would like to leave, I put 8 o'clock at night just because sometimes it's so busy down there. It would be nice to stay for a little bit later. But normally, in my experience in Newport, when I ran the carts, we were packed up and going by 5:30, 6 o'clock. We were on the back home.
How many hot dogs can you hold in a cart? I mean, 10 hours
Well,
are a big day.
I have sold, we had an international kite festival in Newport, because I was right at what they call Breton Point State Park, right at the end of the island. And, so this is an extreme. We sold 1,200 hot dogs in 2 days. And in a small cart, it was a single tray, steam tray cart, three bar burners, they call them. So a normal day, I would hope to sell a minimum of 50. You know, that would be a nice number, a nice target number. And on the weekend, it was busy like a Saturday and Sunday, when you get a lot of people in, you know, it could go up to 200, 250, maybe.
I mean, my concern, and this is just from briefly reading, this is a small village with businesses that depend on the summer
Right,
to make their living through the winter.
right.
And some of them do sell hot dogs and water and soda. And so that,
Yeah, my experience has been, it's not the same here, because this is a little bit different, but it's very similar to Newport, Rhode Island. This is like this is one street in Newport that I'm familiar, that would remind me of this.
Newport is a totally different, this is a.
Well, I'm just talking, I'm trying to compare one street. And I've had the cart out there on events in Newport. There's tall ships, they had the Volvo International Races, I had spots over there on those streets. And, you know, it's, I don't think selling the hot dog is a direct comparison to having dinner. I think it's a snack food, you know?
There are some small restaurants here who do, it's not dinner.
Right.
Fast sandwiches, fast ice cream, fast ices or whatever. Anyway.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm trying not, you know, this is a small thing for me to keep busy and stay connected with with day-to-day life, so I'm not trying to put anybody out of business, I'm not trying to make a career, I'm just trying to do something that will keep myself busy as a disabled vet.
I would think that, as you pointed out, there at the end of Main Street by the railroad tracks, there are a number of areas which are yellow striped, meaning no parking. And that was done specifically so that people could turn around at the bottom there. So setting up a cart on areas where there is diagonal yellow lines would be, I think, not what we would want to do.
Yeah.
And yes, there's no parking signs at the bottom of Main Street as well. And we do mean that as no parking. Again, we don't want people to start ignoring the no parking, because they see someone else parked there. Waterfront park, no, in my mind, that is not a place to go. And as you say, our code expressly prohibits any vending on West Street. We have a similar situation on the other side of the tracks with parking. So my concern is that we would be setting up an obstruction to the traffic flow by some of these. In
Well,
addition,
where was yours? You were right at the top of the
Well,
stairs, right?
I was, before they built the condominiums down there, I was right there at the
Oh, okay.
entrance to the old lumber yard. But then when they started building them, I moved up to right where Fidal's is now, right across
Oh,
the
okay.
track, from the subway, right where he's indicating there's no parking. I was right there. As you come up the steps,
Yeah.
I was there for a couple of years.
So you were
I
on
was
the,
there.
you were
You're on the
west
sidewalk
side.
or on the?
No, I was on the street,
You were on the west
The
side
end of
of
the street.
the tracks though.
correct, the
East-
west side of,
east-
I was on the
East
west
side
side
of
of the
the
tracks.
Yeah,
I just
west
walked
side.
up
West
the
side.
stairs, right by in front of Nina Padala's house.
Oh, by Nina Padala's.
Right in front of
I
Nina
thought you-
Padala's house.
Sorry, yes.
Is where I was.
Which is not where Mr. Cone, I believe Mr. Cone's on, talking the other side. on
No,
that.
No, he's talking about that too.
It's best.
Is
Yeah, the
number,
car-
number 2 is in front of Padala's, number 1 is at the bottom by their
Oh, okay,
visitor
gotcha.
center.
The other thing, the cart is not that big, it's 1/3 the size of a car. So it's not
I
a
thought it
big.
was 7 feet by,
7 feet by.
that's close to a car,
4.5 feet long.
small car.
The other thing is that if this is licensed, then I could see a number of other food trucks coming in or food carts coming in, asking to be licensed as well.
Mhm.
So I think that all has to be factored into
Yeah.
our decision. I'll get in touch with John.
Okay, we're gonna touch base with our attorney and we'll
Okay.
get back in touch with you and
Alright.
see what we can do.
Okay, and just as a point of, a data point, Newport, since I lived there 30 years, they only allow one vending license, and it was owned by Dell's Lemonade. Like I said, this is just an FYI. And I actually had to go, when I went to the city, they said, you gotta go to Dell's. And so I had to talk to he was an assemblyman actually. And, he subbed out his spots, cause he had every spot in Newport. Yeah, and he subbed out his spots to particular people. But that just might be a thought of how you guys may wanna manage that. I mean, you're right. If you get one person in there, you may wanna limit it to one. And when one goes, you have one open spot, and that's kinda like a liquor license. You got so many, and that would relieve some of that potential, confusion down there, or whatever, litigation down the road, whatever it is. But, okay, you guys got it.
Alright. Thank
What
you.
would be the time frame? Would it next meeting, or would I hear something on email?
Yeah,
or-
it'd probably be our next meeting or if as soon as we hear back. you know.
Okay, all right, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank
Alright,
you.
thanks for coming in.
Thank
Okay, new business, we have Hudson Highland Land Trust, we have Michelle Smith here with us tonight. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Nice presentation, yeah, thank you.
Hi, Michelle Smith, Hudson Highlands Land Trust. I've been in front of this board before to talk about some opportunities at the state level for funding for drinking water, especially land conservation relating to drinking water supplies. And the state is very focused on that, especially since the Newberg water crisis. And we wouldn't want to miss an
You're
opportunity.
clearing the room, Michelle, I don't know what's
I
going
know.
on.
Nobody finds water very exciting.
It's over there, yeah.
Even though we're all 70% water, every time I talk about water, it always happens. But Bob will stay.
No, I'm saying, I just wanna close the door, there's a lot of background noise back there.
We wouldn't want to miss an opportunity for state money, so we've actually taken an opportunity. We applied for a grant with the state through the Land Trust Alliance, which is a national organisation, but it's actually state money from the Environmental Protection Fund. And we applied for a grant to do a comprehensive study of the Cold Spring. We've got two projects going on. We've got one for Phillipstown and one for Cold Spring. And one of the grants that the grant that we applied for, we included the Cold Spring watershed. And basically we did receive the funding. So we now have funding to do a study of the whole Foundry Brook watershed. And say we're actually going to contract with Chazen companies, and they're going to do a study of the Foundry Brook watershed to look at all the land parcels that make up the Foundry Brook watershed up into the point where it enters the drinking water supply, and be able to say what are the most important land parcels in there for conservation. Because if you look at the Foundry Brook watershed, right now, 90% of it is all forested natural land cover, but that's really by accident, it's not by design. And there could come a day where, you know, developers start buying those parcels and start developing those parcels. And so the only way to ensure the cleanliness and the health of the water supply on an ongoing perpetual basis, and do something similar to what New York City did with its watershed in the Catskills, is to come up with conservation solutions. So first, to start that process, first of all, what we've got is funding to study what are the most important parcels to conserve. So it'll be based on like slope, forest cover, current land use, proximity obviously to the reservoir and to Foundry Brook. And then there is also state money available, so that at some point we could potentially apply for money to get, you know, to come up with conservation solutions, whether it's purchasing the parcels or putting conservation easements on them. So that's what will be studied by Chazen when they do this study. And then the other thing they're going to look at is roads. So as we're all well aware, and Greg reported on, there's a lot of stuff that happens on Fishkill Road that I'm sure makes its way into Foundry Brook before it becomes drinking water. And one of them last year was a pesticide issue. It sounds like that's being resolved. But there's also road salt, and there's stormwater runoff, and, you know, if there was an oil tanker ever crashed on, you know, Foundry Brook, and oil would just go straight into the water supply. So Chazen's going to look at all of that. We're actually going to form a working coalition around road issues. So it'll be road issues that affect Cold Springs water supply, but also Phillipstown groundwater. So we're going to look at that, look at, you know, treatments for the road, and actually try and get, we'll try and allocate some funding to do sampling and see what's actually going on, what's making its way from the roads and other impervious surfaces into both the Phillipstown groundwater and also Foundry Brook. So I think armed with all that information, we could come up with both some recommendations for conservation as well as different land use practices on both the roads, but also the key parcels that feed the watershed. So,
Michelle, what is the time length of the study? How long do you think it will take?
So task one, which is the conservation measures, and that's basically Chazen doing a GIS. I shouldn't use such lingo. That's like a mapping analysis. And that one, we're probably going to execute this contract within the next week or so. That one's like once they start on that, that's like a couple of months. So I think over, you know, summer, fall, we'll start having some of these results. When we do the road study, depending on when we start, Chazen's saying that's like 2.5 months. And the other thing we're actually going to do as part of this, because we've got enough funding to do it, is actually look at if you ever needed in Cold Spring a backup water supply. Let's say you had a drought year, and you have had drought years in the past. Chazen's actually going to look at, they have looked at this in the past, they looked at it like 10 years ago, what are possible groundwater sites that could be productive aquifers for backup water supply. And that could also be interesting from a conservation solution perspective, you know, getting funding to buy the land, or put some sort of access easement where you could potentially put a wellhead. That's also another 2.5 months. So I think we could get a lot of this done this year,
Right.
and be talking about the results, you know, towards the end of this year.
And you said that the endpoint was where the water goes into the pipe, essentially. What's the head? Is it at the upper reservoir, or is it beyond that?
It's beyond. It's really beyond. Like, it's the upper reservoir storage is that's kind of the head of the storage.
Right.
But if you start looking at the parcels that drain into the reservoir,
Right.
that's what we're really going to focus on, the parcels that drain into the reservoir and the parcels that drain into Foundry Brook before it goes into the water treatment plant.
Okay.
And that's, you know, whatever comes from the land and goes into the reservoir and goes into Foundry Brook is kind of what's going to be part of this study. So, I mean, think of the Lake Valhalla property, right? So that drains into the upper reservoir.
Right,
And all those properties around the reservoir up there
okay.
drain into it.
There's another water, where's the other one? There's another surface water, that the village owns, but it doesn't feed in.
It's on Jaycox Road.
Jaycox Road, you're aware of that?
No, I'm not actually, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
there's another, body of,
Well,
surface water.
there's the upper reservoir and the middle reservoir, are you
Right.
saying there's
This
another
is-
one?
This is,
It's on Jaycox, I'm not sure what it was, there's a dam there, so it's been, you know, the dam has been brought to our attention as,
that the
But
village.
does it become part of the
I don't think
village
it
water
does.
I
supply?
don't think it feeds in at all, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
there.
Yeah,
And apparently the village owns it.
oh, okay,
And it's on Jaycox Road,
it's off of Jaycox.
Yeah. so there's another potential source, but it's not hooked in at all.
yeah. But is it, how developed is it around there?
I
Is
don't, I'm
that
not sure.
burners? Is it
That could be,
burners?
oh, okay, that could be interesting, I didn't know that. And lucky you have another dam. It's amazing.
I don't even know what the water is like there, or what, or if it's
Can
even,
you see it from, can you
It's
see it
the
from
first
Jaycox?
house on the left, because that house is on, actually, if you go into Jaycock from 301, because I've done that a bunch of times, on the left-hand side, that house is like right on top of where the water flows behind it. So when you go on Jaycock, there's like a little bit of a waterfall there. I didn't see a dam, but I know there's a water source
yeah, I don't
right
think it's there, I think it's down towards the other end.
That's the one okay, because there is one right there, that,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that
Down
near
on
the,
the
Wait.
Route 9 side? It might end up in the Foundry Brook though, you never know.
It could,
No.
yeah.
is that
That's
near the
interesting.
burner property? Bugsy, you seem to know.
I think it's on the other side.
It's on the
I
other side.
remember, we had a dog got stuck in the water up there a couple years ago.
Do you know
Okay.
who owns the land that it's on? Or the village owns the land that it's on?
Apparently this was discovered, I'm gonna say 10 years ago, when one of the previous mayors was rooting through the records in the basement and came around a deed or some legal conveyance to the village of this water supply. And
That's
that's all I
really
can tell you,
interesting.
yeah.
I'd love to check that out. If you have more info, I'd love to, I mean, I would love to, if I can share that with Chase and,
Ask, Jeff Vidakovich may
Yeah.
have more information. Do you think Greg would have more information?
Greg might know, I don't know. It might be Jaycox Pond.
I'll send a note to Greg
yeah.
tomorrow
before.
and
Right
probably,
across from where Ruben lives. Yeah, Ruben Vahos.
Yes,
Vahos,
it
it's right
is up
across the
there.
street from him.
Yeah,
from who?
Ruben Vahos. It's actually quite large.
yeah.
I don't
Pretty
know that
big.
one.
Well, so it's good size. It's, I would say it's less than a mile off of Route 9 side,
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
left-hand
okay.
side.
Okay, alright.
His house is right on the road, it's
Left-hand
got like
side
a
coming
circular
from which
driveway,
way?
and right across the street, up in the woods, maybe
Yeah.
200-300 yards, maybe.
Left-hand side coming from Route 9 or coming from?
Come from Route 9 side.
Okay,
Yeah.
alright, I'll
You
need to check
can't
that out.
see it
That's
from the road.
That's a surprise.
I'll send a
Or do
note
they
to
go
Greg.
north?
Yeah.
I'll copy
Looks like it
him.
does drain into the Foundry
So
Brook.
hopefully you'll be able, if he knows anything, and I'll copy Jeff on it as
Yeah,
well.
that'd be great. Alright, good. I might have to, maybe I should re-scope this with Chazen before I sign the contract. And then, I don't know, did you wanna mention, while I've got the floor, did you wanna mention about the bins or are you
Sure,
saving
we've
that for a
got big
surprise?
photos of the bin, would you like one?
Oh, yeah, I saw these.
So I've been
Yeah, I was
working-
worried that out, the logo.
Working
needs
with
to be
Michelle and also Amy from Scenic Hudson on some recycle bins for, or not recycle, and trash for down at the riverfront. So anyway, these are all recycled materials. These are 3 bins, will go on one side of the bandstand. On the other side, the village is purchasing a 2-bin unit, will go on the other side, on the south side. Anyway, and so the triple bin is Scenic Hudson and Highlands Land Trust are purchasing and
Oh, nice.
donating to us.
Thank you.
And we'd like to encourage others.
Yes, we would love to encourage
Sponsor.
others, and hopefully when they see these, they'll like them and that'll happen.
And their logo will be on the
Their
side.
logos are on the side, yeah, they're imprint,
How much are they
they're
expensive?
Really nice.
They're, I think they're about $1,000, this is like $3,000.
Whoa.
For the triple one?
Whoa.
Is there a container inside them? or
So
a
there's,
bag?
yes, there's containers, they're hinged on the side, there's a lock, which we can use or not use, so you can lock them, and then it swings open and then there's bins inside that you pull out,
Okay,
and they're 45 gallon.
okay.
And what else? These have flaps on them, so keep hopefully bees out or whatever. These don't come with flaps to recycle. But down on the section closer to Moo Moo's, our favorite person that drops a lot of, their customers bring a lot of garbage to the village. And that area is, I think Bugsy can testify to, is always overflowing on the weekends.
And they're gonna be on each side of the
Plus
bandstand?
fees.
Yeah, the triple will be on the Moo Moo's side,
Okay,
and so hopefully.
and it holds one recycling, two garbage?
Yeah.
Okay,
So, and the recycle's just bottles and cans. The other side is one garbage, one recycle.
I happened to be at an airport over the weekend, and inside the airport, the only trash receptacles they had were Big Bellies,
Oh, really?
in an airport.
Those are the electric ones, right?
Exactly,
Big clutch.
and I thought, why are you doing this?
Yeah, those are the electric ones that you need to plug into the walls or something.
Right. They're not out in the weather.
Okay. Well, Michelle, thank you for your efforts. I mean, really, I think the water in our water system is something people don't ever have on their minds
And
until
obviously
it.
always cleans the room, but people get that, so.
They did. But I totally appreciate it. I think a lot of people appreciate the efforts, and just, you know, with Greg and everyone working on the pesticides on Fishkill Road, it's very important. And as you're saying, I mean, a lot of the buildings, I think, going up Lake Surprise Road, I know their septic's probably drain into the stream, which
Yeah.
then heads its way
The
down,
more
so.
houses you have up there, the more
Yeah.
comes in.
So-
Yeah.
So, thank you, I definitely appreciate your efforts on that. Old business, Mr. Stone Street. On consideration of the costs.
Yeah, this is my first time through the process. I didn't realize that the legal fees were basically the same as the legal fees it cost for me to close on the house.
Right.
If I was gonna put an extension in that space or something, then I could maybe justify it, but
Right.
$1,600 to buy a piece of land that I am just gonna put one stair on.
Right.
I can't justify it with the cost of the project.
I don't really.
So I didn't realize that it was, I didn't realize that element, cause this is my
Right.
first time going through the process.
No problem. So what you're asking for is kind of the okay to put one step on.
Yeah.
No problem.
Steve,
Yeah, it's fine.
Marie?
I go back to there needs to be some form of visual warning that, a pedestrian is going to be walking into your steps. And so this has to be contingent upon your railing going all the way down to this step that you wish to install.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense not to
So you
have it do
agree to that condition?
Agree to that condition.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, the stipulation, that, the railing will extend to the last tread, or to the face of the last tread, that we give permission for this one step to be put on village property.
I'll second that motion.
It's a long one, you got all that, Mike? You can.
I'm scribbling.
All right.
I'll check with you after.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
You waited all night for that.
Educational experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 16, 2018, adopting negative declaration for Kemble Pump Station. I think Greg just went over that, or no, that wasn't the one, that was the one on West Street, wasn't it? This is the one on Kemble, which they're, where the Village of Cold Spring is constructing improvements to the existing water pumping station on Market Street involving the complete replacement in kind of the pump station controls and emergency power connection, here and known as the improvements. And whereas the Kemble Pump Station shares the same portable generator as the Market Street Pump Station, and whereas the Village of Village Board of Trustees concludes that the generator connection needed to be the same as at both stations for continued reliable operation of the pump station, and proposed to replace the generator plug, transfer switch, and backer board, herein known as the work. And whereas the Village Board of Trustees has considered and reviewed the work needed at Kemble as an action subject to seeker, pursuant to 6 NYCRR section 617.2B, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees concludes that the work is a listed type 2 action pursuant to blah blah blah, replacement, rehabilitation, or reconstruction of a structure or facility in kind on the same site, and whereas the work does not exceed any threshold of type 1 action listed in 6 New York CRR section 617.4B, and whereas the work on Kimmel does not have a significant adverse impact on environment based on the criteria contained in subdivision 617.7C, trustees classifies the action as type 2 action that is exempt from further requirements of 6 NYCRR section 617. I have a motion to adopt this negative the resolution, adopting the negative declaration.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Early,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Veloto,
Yes.
Mayor Morandi.
Yes. Thank you. Next is accept the resignation of Kenneth Trimble III. Kenny is moving to Putnam County as an operator. So he'll be leaving us in a few weeks. He sent in his resignation yesterday or today, I believe. So I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Kenneth Trimble III.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I wanna thank him very much for his work here.
Definitely.
Missed.
Next is the approve the hiring of Jake Vaccaro. This will be to fill this position and for a 2-week period overlap it, or I think a 1-week period, it'll be overlapping it. Of labor with the highway department, a rate of $18 an hour. Jake has his CDL, and that's the reason for the $3 bump. With Kenny gone, we only have one CDL driver, which is our foreman. So we're in need of a CDL driver very much. So this interviewed Jake with Bugsy, and he's very energetic. Younger guy, really wants to work here and has a lot of background and a lot of experience for his age. So I'm happy he came in and applied, and happy he's still interested in the job. So I'd like to make a motion to hire Jack Vaccaro at a rate of $18 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, April 24th. Village Board of Trustees. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second?
Second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain, I was not at that meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Fran.
Next, approval of bills, batch number 4603 in the amount of $21,630.87. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got those numbers, Michael, or do you need them again?
Yeah, it's written down.
Oh, okay, sorry. Anything else from the board? Public comment?
What's the date on that firefighter graduation item, the
Yeah.
It
street closing?
is,
27th of July, I think she said?
it's here someplace, right?
July 27th, Friday, 4 to 9. Anything else?
Jake's gonna start?
What's that?
Do we know when Jake's gonna start?
He hasn't filled in those paperwork yet, so he can't start, he can start Friday if you'd like him, or he can start Monday. You tell me, and I will tell him.
Yesterday.
As soon as possible, yeah.
Okay, so I will tell him Friday.
Okay, thank you.
It's his birthday in the Yankee game,
It's his
Tomorrow.
birthday.
so he can't,
Tomorrow's his birthday.
yeah, and then next day he's going to the Yankee game, I think. You can't keep him away from a Yankee Red Sox.
Especially when the Red Sox
That's an
are gonna
old
win.
thing.
Yankees are winning 2-1 in the fifth inning right
Oh,
now.
come on.
Uh,
At least we got the one, but we're getting there.
That was good. It's, you know, for a while, it's good to feel on top. And then,
Well, Friday, they don't
A
play,
little glimmer, hope.
they don't play the Yankees on Friday with Boston out there.
They're playing three.
Right, so that
This will
Friday
tie,
game is
this
in
will tie
Boston.
him up.
Yeah, this will tie them up.
3-game
Well,
series.
only if they win.
Tuesday, Thursday.
I'm a
I'd
motion
like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.